businesses by the government's handling of COVID-19. For more on that, we're joined by Shai Cohen. He's the CEO of the Israeli Alliance. Thanks so much for coming into our studio today. So who are you representing, Shai?
Well, in the work in the Alliance, we faced hundreds of Israelis that went out of business with their business or were suffering from unfair selective enforcement of the different COVID-19 bylaws. And we are helping them by getting the best legal representation they can get and funding some legal claims that people that went out of business just don't have the time and the money to run. And there's a lot of serious legal claims of getting funds back from the government because of different mishandlings that we saw during the crisis.
Give me an example, because it's been a hard year for everyone, and the government might argue that it's a force majeure, that it's a pandemic.
Yeah, but different than the pandemic itself, there was a lot of decision-making that was not clear to see why, but not fair for the everyday Israeli. For example, we have a lot of businesses opening up at 2019 that are not allowed to get any funds back from the government, just because there's a certain date that the authorities look at when they try to calculate the money they lost. And if someone just opened his business now, he doesn't get anything. Another good example is when people lost contracts that run forward, not only in those months of the crisis, but running forward, and maybe lost their business altogether. There's no bylaws to refund them for that. So every case that gets to us, and there's more than 400 different cases already approaching the fund to get our help, each case is delivered to the best practice lawyers that can handle it, and we only help with the funding of the legal action. But professional lawyers from all kinds of fields are dealing with the cases themselves.
Yeah, and lawyers cost a lot of money. How much money are you raising?
First of all, we raise money also from the wide public, and also there have been quite a few business-wise donors coming forward and donating money to the fund already, so we would get the right legal advice, at least for everyone that approached the fund.
Okay. Tell me, looking at precedents around the world regarding, for example, the cases that you mentioned, can you say Germany is doing it better, or the UK, or the US, for example? Because, somebody who started their business perhaps in December 2019, just a moment before the pandemic broke out, it's a very sad story, but I could understand the government or the state saying, we just don't have any data about your earnings to base our compensation on.
Yeah, so the international comparison is very important, because we see that Israel is number one only in two things: vaccinations, which is very important, but also putting the harder bylaws ever from everywhere in the world about business working throughout the crisis. For example, when it comes to Germany, you mentioned, money was given to business owners on the exact minute that the bylaws stands, and people got the money directly to their accounts. Here in Israel, a lot of the business owners are now getting notice that they need to refund the government because something in their paperwork wasn't exact. So when we go and compare to what happened in other places in the world, it seems that it's even worse than just the legal claim. And the position of mainly small business owners, but also employees that were laid off because of the COVID-19, and all different kind of fields in the Israeli market got a worse treatment than everywhere we look at as the serious example.
Very interesting. Shai Cohen, the CEO of the Israeli Alliance, thank you very much for coming into our studio. We'll keep following your work at the Alliance.
Thank you for the time here.